And I popped over to Substack recently, and I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to share because I want to be able to utilize this platform in a slightly different way to really share musings and writing and poetry and music and some of my favorite writings. And one of the things that I haven't yet publicly announced, you guys are the first to hear it, is that one of the very first books that I wrote, I am doing a rewrite of it as an audiobook, and I'm going to be adding some new chapters. And so you guys are getting a preview of the very first audio version of my book. And this I wrote back in 2013. So I want to use this space for something a little different than what I do over on Facebook. Because those of you that are on Facebook, hi, Stephanie. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for being here live. You guys know that I do Plug In and Power Up over there. And there's all sorts of amazing things that my husband and I do together on Facebook. And I'm really excited about this platform. I'm excited about the energy. It feels fresh. It feels new. And like I said, I want to use it in a slightly different way. I've thought about this a lot. I've contemplated how to really bring some fresh energy into this space. And I thought, what a beautiful way to express and share writing, because I'm going to be writing new chapters for this book and another book that Gabriel and I are co-writing together. So I'm going to start doing these lives. We'll see how often. Stay tuned. I'll let you know. But I want to start with this because we entered into February. February is one of my favorite months because there's Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day is my birthday. And it's like a favorite energy of mine because it's all about the heart and expanding our heart energy. And today, what I really wanted to talk to you guys about is the heart and how it relates to healing and how healing is connected to your heart. And I thought, what better way than to ignite all these amazing things together in one space than to talk about the healing manual. But I want to read something to you, and then we're going to dive into it kind of like a book study a little bit, okay? So the healing manual I wrote back in 2013, and how this book came through was I channeled it in 5 days. Now, keep in mind, I've been an intuitive healer, soul coach, and spiritual mentor since 2002 is when I first started seeing clients. And so at that point, I had already worked with more than 10,000 clients one-to-one when I wrote this book. So I allowed a lot of the experiences that I had in my sessions with clients to stream into the content of this book. But I kept asking the question, okay, creator, because I heard, you're going to write a book. I'm like, great. I've always wanted to write a book. What's it going to be about? And they're like, you're going to call it the healing manual. And I was like, what? The healing manual. All I could think of was like this big ass book about this thick. It's going to be this big manual because I went to university for health sciences and I studied psychology as well. And there was this DSW manual. That's all I could think of was this big, big manual that it was going to just be loaded with stuff. And I'm like, this is going to be so hard and so complicated. And they're like, no, we want it to be a healing manual, but simplified and clear so that anybody could pick up this book and get it immediately and shift and transform their life. And I was like, okay, so healing simplified. And then they're like, yes. So experience health and well-being in all areas of your life. And I should have actually put on here, healing simplified. So it's a guide to healing. And I want to read a little bit from it. And then I want to give you a little bit of extra goodness because right now I'm recording the audiobook version of this and I'm adding some new chapters and some new bits because from 2013 to 2026, when I'm doing this, there's a lot that's changed, not necessarily in the world of healing, but there's a lot in my awareness that's changed. And I would say healing for me now is even faster than what it was back in 2013, and definitely faster than when I started my holistic healthcare journey in 2003, 2002, in and around there. Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for being here. All right. Say hi when you arrive to let me know that you're here. So this is the healing manual, a guide to healing, how to achieve health and well-being in all areas of life. And now I want to do a little disclaimer because I think it's important. Healing is always up to you. When it comes to healing, transformation, changing something in your life, alchemy, whatever you want to call it, healing is always up to you. So you can have the tools. Someone can gift you the tools, give you the tools, and make them all available, but you are the one that's doing the healing. All right. Even as a Reiki practitioner, as an energy healer, chakra balancer, all the things, I say this to our students all the time because people come in and train with us now. I always say healing happens in their body. It's them that's doing the healing. You're the facilitator. You're the guide. You're holding the space for the light to come through. It's like boosting a car. You know when your car batteries die and you need someone else, you're like, can you come and give me a boost? My batteries died. And your friend comes over, or your neighbor comes over and they've got the cables and their car is started. Their battery is well lit and they hook up their cables to their battery and then take their cables and hook them up to your battery and it gives it a boost. That's how I've always seen healing. It's it's not that you don't know how to heal, you do. Your body is designed for health and well-being and radiance. It's just sometimes we forget. And many times the reason why we forget is because there's programming that's come in from all over the place. I call it interference, has come in from all over the place that jams our signal to that remembrance. It jams the signal to remember, oh yeah, my body does know how to heal. Oh yeah, my body does know how to self-regulate. Oh yeah, my nervous system knows how to regulate. Oh yeah, and my heart knows how to beat. One of our twins asked us the other day, he said, how does our heart beat? And how do my muscles move? And how does my leg move? There's 7. And I said, well, from a practical physiological standpoint, there's a signal that's being sent somewhere from your consciousness to your brain to say, lift my arm, make the heart beat. And he said, okay, so I can think, he goes, I can think to lift my arm and my arm lifts. I'm like, yeah, that's because you're having a thought that's going into your brain and then your brain's translating that into a signal. And that signal gets sent down into your muscles and your bones and your nerve endings and says it fires a message and the message gets sent and received and the arm goes lift and it lifts, right? But then he says, okay, I get that. He goes, now what's telling my heart to beat? And we had this really deep conversation. I said, isn't that fascinating? I said, have you ever had to tell your heart to beat? He's like, no. I said, have you ever had to tell your eyes to blink? He goes, sometimes if I'm playing like the stare game, right? I'm going to have a staring contest. I said, have you ever had to tell your body to digest your food? No. I said, right. So what do you think is telling your heart to beat and your digestion to work and all the things that are happening inside your body? And he goes, God? I was like, yes. I was like, spirit, source, creator, God, the infinite, the divine, whatever you want to call it. There's many names for the same thing. So all of a sudden he had this breakthrough moment where he's like, okay. I said, it's a higher consciousness. There's some higher consciousness that is sending a signal, just like your brain sends a signal to your heart, to your lungs, to your body, to your digestion, everywhere. A signal's being sent. There's a higher signal that's coming from a higher up energy, higher consciousness, your soul, creator, the divine. It's coming in like a higher pulse signal to have you be in a state of well-being. That's what's really happening. And what happens is when the body stops functioning in its health and well-being, there's a breakdown. But many times we just go, okay, well, there's a breakdown. Got to go fix the breakdown. But nobody, well, maybe some people do. Not a lot of people ask the question, where did this breakdown begin? What's causing the breakdown? And for many of us, especially in today's society, because of phones and technology and Wi-Fi and all the things, and there's a lot of stimulus, there's movies, there's constant programming and interference coming in that jams up that natural signal to our divinity, to the divine flow of light coming in that powers up and tells your being, your heart, your digestion, be healthy, function with perfection, be well, be healthy, heartbeat. Like it tells the whole field, which then signals to the brain, and then everything's working in coherence to bring you into a state of well-being. So sometimes our health, and this is something that I'm going to add to the book, because back in 2013, we didn't have 5G. We didn't have some of the things that were going on in the field, like the spraying in the sky and some of the extra, I mean, we had pesticides then, but not to the extent that we do now. We didn't really have, I think maybe we had some GMO, but not to the extent we have now. There was not a whole lot of external stuff going into the body system to hijack it and to interfere, right? We have a lot of interference now. Back in 2013, when I wrote this book, we didn't have the same interference. So that's a chapter that I'm going to be adding into this book, physical and audio book. I'm going to start with the audio and then we'll see where we go. Or maybe Spirit will create something different. Who knows? I'm going to let go. But I do want to say as a disclaimer that healing is in your hands. Healing is for you and healing is up to you. So when you allow yourself to deepen into yourself, into your body, and you choose healing, that's where it begins. Healing begins with a choice. Hi, Susie. Thanks for tuning in. Healing begins with a choice. So I'm going to start with the foreword here of this book. And again, I'm doing an audio recording for those of you that are just tuning in. I want to utilize this space to really share some of the books and works of art that I've brought through, but also give you the update because there's new chapters being added to this book. And it's time for a rewrite, 2013 to now. There's still some things that are tried and true, but we're going to go through it together. And I'm going to be like, oh, time for a rewrite on that one, right? So the foreword is, no one needs to say they are spiritual to be so. It should radiate from you without words and know that it is your presence. And so when we start to, and this was by a friend of mine, Danielle Gutierrez, he wrote the foreword for me, and he's a very spiritual being. He had the honor of working with a lot of leaders in the world around spiritual leadership, bringing in spiritual leadership. So I'm going to skip the rest of it and come straight to the introduction. So the introduction talks about, I want to create an easy guide to healing so that people know that they can heal themselves. That's really what I want for the whole world. If the whole world could come into the back to themselves and know, and again, it starts with a choice. I choose to self-heal. I choose to be well. I choose my wholeness. That's the very first thing that we want to do if we want to shift, heal, transform something, anything in your body, in your life, in your relationships, in money, everything. So create an easy guide. We are here on a unique and wondrous path, all at different points in our awareness, and each with different things going on in any moment. There is no one perfect or only way to healing. Just as there are many paths to lead to Mecca or many roads to take you to your destination, there are many forms of healing that are all wonderful and valid and work, depending on where you are in your journey. So this is something I really want to say too, because back in 2013, when I wrote this and when I started my journey as an intuitive healer, a holistic health healer and practitioner, and an energy worker back in 2002, there weren't there's a lot of modalities now. And all of these modalities, I see them as like a tree. There was the base, the tree of like healing and transformation. And then you have all the branches and all the branches, kind of like yoga. You have all these branches and limbs of yoga. You have all these branches and limbs of healing modalities, but all of it comes back to the same source. This is where I think, you know, there's certain religions that will stay away from the term healing because I think that a lot of the modalities today forget where they came from and forget that all modalities come back to the same tree. All healing comes back to the same tree or the same life force or the same channel, which is really creator, the divine, the light. This is why we called our business the Academy of Light. This is why everything in our teachings are about the light, because it's about coming back to the light. So even though you might try breath work or working with crystals or Reiki or aromatherapy or any of the other modalities that you hear about out there in the world, I want you to know that they all are a part of the same tree. They're different limbs or different branches or different leaves, but they're all a part of the same tree. And they come, hopefully most of them, maybe there's some that don't, but I would say the ones that I like to tune into, that I know that they're in the light. And one of the things, and maybe that's something for me to add into this book too, as I'm intuitively tuning into this and talking with you about this, would be for people to intuitively know and choose modalities that align with you. And what aligns for you may not align for someone else. And that's okay, because you are a unique being with a unique code and a unique blueprint. Someone else has a different blueprint. What works for them may not work for you. I'll give you a quick example. My husband's an athlete. He's been an athlete his entire life, and he's going pickleball pro right now. And he's playing with the pros. The intention is to go to the Olympics. He works out so hard, and I've tried to work out hard like that. My body is like, no bueno. No bueno. We're down here in Mexico right now. We live in Mexico half the year. No bueno. And he loves it though. He can work hard like that and he loves it. And when he's not training hard, his body is like, no bueno. For me, if I work out like that, my body is telling me, no way. You need something different. So I'm going to ask you in this initial conversation of healing, and there's much more that I want to cover with you, right? In this journey together. But I want to start it with this space of first choosing. You choose your healing. You choose what aligns for you. Choose that you are whole. Start there. Second, realign with your divine self. Know that all healing modalities come from various, it seems to be from various places, but they're all part of the same tree. Hopefully, they're part of the same tree. And the third piece is then knowing. You need to know how to discern and distinguish what's for me, what's not for me, what's aligned with me, what's not aligned with me, what works for my being, body, and constitution, and what doesn't. Because all healing works. Sometimes it's just a matter of discerning and sifting and choosing which ones are for you. All right. So the first 3 steps that I have here for healing, because again, this is simplified healing. The first 3 steps anyone can do when healing is required. Take a pause. Tune in to your own self and body. See, it's similar to what I was just saying. Find out what it needs. So this is about listening to your body, listening to your life, listening to your relationships. If it's money you're healing through, listening to your money situation and story. If it's something else that feels broken down, listen to it. Let it speak to you. By asking a few easy questions, we begin a fascinating and eye-opening journey inward, discovering more about our inner workings and the interconnection to the world around us. This ultimately guides us to the appropriate level of healing that we require in that moment. Some great questions to start with are, am I experiencing physical symptoms or imbalances? So check in, do a little check in with yourself. What's working? What's not working? Is there something in imbalance? Is there something not whole? Second question, am I feeling off emotionally? That's a really great indicator that something is off. If you hear yourself thinking that or saying that, you're like, something feels off. Something's off. Something's off. Then we got to discern. We got to dig a little deeper. Let's look at what's off, okay? Do I find my thoughts running amok in my life? So are your thoughts just running rampant? Are they going everywhere? Are they all over the place? Are they running your life? Are they distracting you? Where are your thoughts going? Or do you need a little bit of focus? Am I feeling out of control or a lack of connection to anything? Sometimes when we feel a lack of control or we feel out of sorts or we feel like we're not really connected, that's a really great indicator that we need to come back into alignment with our divine self. And as a spiritual teacher for the last 23 years, that has been the foundation of everything. Even though, I've studied I'm an aromatherapist, a reflexologist, an energy healer, all the different modalities, a holistic healthcare practitioner, everything, even from that perspective of holistic healing, always led to the spiritual. So check your spiritual self too, okay? If you feel connection is off, then you got to connect in and up, or in and down to Gaia or God, Gaia or source, right? It's creators in everything. I just did a plug in and power up on this. So the last one, I think, yes. Am I feeling cut off from life itself? Now, sometimes you'll hear this from people when there's a lot going on. They will feel cut off. They will feel disconnected. And people are teaching people still to this day, which I don't get because I don't teach this. And I've been an intuitive healer. I've worked with more than 15,000 clients one-to-one. I have led thousands, tens of thousands of workshops at this point. Never once have I ever facilitated or taught or have I done for myself to tell people to cord cut or cut yourself off. There's a reason for that. And Creator said to me one day, because I learned that early on, cut the cord, cut yourself off. And I used to do that. And then eventually I felt cut off from everything. I felt cut off from the people that I loved. I felt like I couldn't receive love. I felt isolated. I felt insulated. I was definitely protected, but I was also cut off from the rest of the world. So you're not ever going to hear me teach that, ever, ever, ever. And there are a lot of people who teach it. And I'm here to say, you could keep doing that if you want. And it's not Creator's way. Cutting yourself off is not Creator's way. It's like cut Creator. No, that doesn't even go in the same equation. Got to look at where that's coming from. The ego will cut you off. Shadow will cut you off. The divine will never cut you off. That's like saying, you've been a bad human. Sorry, you're cut off from my love. That's not even possible. From the shadow, 100% possible. From the ego, yeah, a little bit. Ego likes safety and protection. So you got to ask yourself, where am I playing? Where am I sitting? Am I listening to old teachings that maybe aren't serving? And I know a lot of people aren't teaching this, and this will probably trigger some people, and I'm okay with that because a trigger means there's something to grow, there's something to heal. I got triggered when I heard it for the first time, and I didn't hear it from any of my teachers or mentors. I heard it straight from the divine 20 years ago because what I was doing wasn't working. It was not working. And so I said, okay, show me the way. Just like this book channeling down in 5 days, I said, okay, show me what you want me to write. And in 5 days, the whole thing, however many pages this is, 141 pages in 5 days. That's what's possible when you realign with the divine. That's what's possible when you stop cutting yourself off and listening to the stuff that's actually not going to heal you and it's not going to grow you. We need to be discerning. There's a lot of information and there's a lot of input and there's a lot of distraction. So you got to come back and ask yourself some of these questions maybe, and then start to realign. I'm going to read one more paragraph and then we'll complete, okay? So whatever the state, whatever you are moving through, the most important first step is to listen. We are given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Some of you may have heard this. This was an old yogic teaching that I learned when I was 14. Many of you know the story. I learned yoga and meditation when I was 14. I was self-taught. One of my English teachers gave me some books on reflexology, qigong, and yoga and meditation. And I took the books and in Northern Ontario, Canada, I read the books in secrecy because everybody thought they were strange and unusual and they'd never seen anything like that. And I started to go deep into that practice. And that's where I first learned you have two ears and one mouth, which means we're supposed to be listening twice as much as we are speaking, even though I'm here doing a lot of speaking. I do a lot of listening though. Don't get me wrong. I do a lot of listening in my life. Reflecting the need to listen twice as much as we speak. And when there is an imbalance or resistance, it's a signal to pay attention and go within to listen to what is there and tune into what your being or body is advising you to seek out. Begin by listening to your description of what you're moving or going through, not what you have, not what you've been diagnosed with, not with all the challenges that you might be facing, but what you're moving through. I share this with my clients all the time. You are moving through things. You could choose to have it, you could choose to keep it, or you could say, you know what, I'm moving through something, right? Okay. You then have insight as to what requires balance and what to seek out in regards to healing. You will begin to uncover the block or the limiting belief that is showing up or the resistant patterning that is flaring up in your body, mind, or emotions. So I'm going to pause there because there's so much goodness in here. And I feel like this is a really great start to a really beautiful journey. If you enjoyed this, let me know. If this is kind of the vibe, let me know that too. There's so many things that I speak on in our business and in our life. And I want to utilize this space. I'm going to call it sacred Substack space to really bring forward a new conversation for you all. And I feel like healing has been a part of my journey for so, so long. And it's something that I've helped tens of thousands of clients move through. And I really want to help as many people as possible also to move themselves through maybe a tough situation or whatever's moving through their life. And so you can pick this up at Amazon. It's still available on Amazon. Stay tuned. I'm going to be releasing the audiobook that's going to have some new pieces in here. And this has been really helpful for me, even because as I was speaking and allowing the divine to speak through me, I was getting clarity. I got to go back and watch it myself, get clarity and make some notes on some of the new pieces that I want to bring into the audiobook. Okay. If you have any questions about healing, you have any questions about transformation or the healing world or the multitude of modalities that are out there, I have trained in almost all of them. And I will be honest as to what I see works really well, what could maybe slow you down. But I also want you to use your own discernment because healing is in your hands. Healing is up to you and it's by your choice, by your choosing. All right. I hope you have a beautiful day today. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to connect again soon and have a beautiful day. Mwah. Bye.